In today's complex business environment, leaders need not only to be prepared for the worst, but also to build their resilience. At the Human Factor, Corporate Integrity Matters' Sonja Sterneman invites top executives, board members, and industry experts to reflect and talk about the realities of corporate integrity, risk, and ethical leadership. As an international governance authority, independent director, and entrepreneur, she understands the challenges leaders face. Integrity and ethical leadership are not just principles. They build resilience, enhance reputation, and create strategic competitive advantage for organizations and for individuals.
Today, I'm honored to welcome Evie Wentink. With over 18 years of dedicated experience in cultivating compliance programs and fostering a culture of integrity, Evie is a seasoned professional in the field of corporate compliance. She holds a Master of Law and Corporate Compliance from Fordham University and is certified by the Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics. Through her career, Evie has demonstrated her expertise in compliance leadership, serving as a director of compliance at Toting, where she played a pivotal role in shaping the organization's compliance framework. More of Evie's career stations are also mentioned on her personal LinkedIn profile. Evie is passionate about promoting a culture of ethical behavior and compliance within organizations, ensuring that integrity is at the forefront of business operations. Her commitment to excellence and her extensive knowledge makes her an asset in the compliance landscape in our society. So, Evie, thank you very much for being here. So as we both know that integrity isn't something you find on a strategy map, it's often forged in quiet, high-stakes moments. So let's explore where it has shown up in your own leadership ways. And especially, I would like to know as a first question from you, in your current role as a compliance culture champion. That is how you call yourself. And I can also see your shirt, what our audience can't see right now. It's a nice shirt saying, let's talk about ethics. So where does corporate integrity actually show up beyond compliance?
It show up. So first of all, thank you for having me. I am super happy to be here and having the conversation about ethics, compliance, integrity, and everything in between. And to me, ethics and integrity shows up every day at companies of all levels. And it's really the people who make the difference. It's talking about people, it's helping people, but also guiding people to see that there's always a better way to do something, and that collectively, as we do things better ethically with integrity, it is good. It benefits everyone. It benefits the company because ethical business are known to have better profits, but it benefits the employees because we're talking about providing better working conditions and environments for the employees. So if employees of all levels, including managers, including supervisors, including the C-suite and the board, if they could understand that the work that ethics and compliance professionals are trying to do is make the conditions better. It starts at the bottom level, it goes all the way up, but really the result translates to better product, better customer service, happier customers, more money. So if people can understand that equation, if we can sell that equation, that I think will be great. No, for me, why I am involved, like I say, I called my company the Ethical Edge Experts because it's not only about having a compliance program, but the edge is really the people. So creating people-centric compliance program is what makes the difference. If you just want a compliance program, you can create a checklist and you can go and check off the box, whole bunch of things, whether it's policies, the code, the training. But if you really want to provide meaning, you have to start with the people.
You said before, if people could understand that
Yes.
return on investment is that high as you explained right now. So I would
Yeah.
like to dig a little bit deeper into that. This could understand. So implicitly, you are saying they do not yet understand, or it's quite difficult or a hard selling job to make them understand that the return on investment is that high. So what is your experience? Because we are living in completely different countries. What is your experience over the last few years when it comes to that? Can people better see the return on investment than before, or is it still the same, or where does the trend go?
Yeah, so great question. I think we don't talk about ethics, compliance, and integrity enough. I will give you an example. So in the United States, people get moved, and just not even work people, just people in general, people get moved when there is a political issue. Okay, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it was over the last couple years, there were plenty that you could see in the United States. The market moved because it was a political issue. So last October, or I want to say fall, I wrote an article about this. I wrote an article talking about the TD Bank. So TD Bank was just found doing really bad things. They did money laundering that was related to human and sex trafficking,
Mm-hmm.
which I think everyone should be appalled that there is actually bank that allowed this to happen. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a, oversight. They allowed it to happen. So my point in the article was, when it's morally or ethically wrong, we don't talk we don't get as moved as population. And I think it doesn't really matter in the country, because when you look at all the banks over the last 10 years that made moral and ethically wrong decisions, integrity wrong decisions, they their stock between now and then continued to grow. And I actually made a post maybe a month ago looking at the TD stock, and their stock, I mean, it didn't dip, right? So, but if you look at some of the companies that were politically motivated, though, they dipped really, really far down. And I think that is the difference.
And what is the reason that it happens like that? What is the reason that people see it differently, and why does the stock market react differently? What is your opinion on that?
So I'm not sure what the reason is in the way. The way I would say is, we don't talk about ethics enough. We don't talk to our children ethics and compliance and integrity and how it translates and how it benefits. My actually personal goal is to talk to young people, and I'm really excited because coming in fall, I had made connection in a local high school where my daughter actually goes and is going to be in senior year, with a teacher that has an entrepreneur class
Mm-hmm.
and business class that I get to. This is the first time, so I don't know where it's going to end, but this is the step in where I get to talk to them about real life ethics and compliance program, what it looks like, what it means, what are the downfalls. I want to make it fun and exciting, talking about these different cases. Like we have the Coldplay case that went around the
Yes,
world.
it
Um,
also arrived here in Switzerland, so it's
I
we
would
have
I
seen
would
it. Yeah.
yeah, I would imagine, but I even with that case, I really am not so concerned with the private part of the matter. For me, it was interesting from a company's
Mhm.
perspective, and we can pick it up later. But I want to open the eyes of the young people to say, where you put your dollar matters. You
Mhm.
should care about ethics, compliance, integrity, and companies having those programs in place, because in the end, it benefits you as a consumer, it benefits you as a customer, it benefits you as an employee when companies do the right things. And we don't talk about it enough. So I think that's really the reason where we need to bring the conversation and start in schools and maybe champion, if we truly want to elevate ethics and compliance in the business world. People like us who are passionate about ethics and compliance and integrity really need to be reaching out to the local high schools, really need to be maybe asking the governments to create ethics and compliance and integrity classes or curriculums. And then it goes. And the reason I got really, and I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but the reason I got really inspired about the young people was, I mean, I was young once, and something happened when I was at the beginning of my employment, and I wish I knew more of what
Mm-hmm,
I know
mm-hmm.
now. But last April, there is a ethics competition around in the United States for kids who are in colleges, so bachelor and master's programs. And these young people have groups of 4 or 5, and they have to present an ethical dilemma, research the law, and then provide solution and present it to a panel of judges. So I was lucky to be a panel of that on virtually, because it happened in California in person. Maybe next year I get to go in
Yes.
person, but virtually. And I was blown away by the things that they thought about. Was something that it was a new issue to me. And I'm like, wow, that's really, really smart. My problem, and I'll end with this one. My problem was those were business minded young people.
Yes.
How about everybody else?
Absolutely. And that's also what I see here in Switzerland. I think the young generation, they really know about these kind of dilemmas already. And maybe
Mhm.
they are even more trained or sensitized. I think it's not about training, it's about sensitization. So they need to know what could happen. And they also need to know that it's not right. And that's also the reason why we started the podcast 4 years ago, because we said we want to give integrity a voice. Because as
Ugh.
you say, let's talk about ethics. And we said, integrity has no voice because we are not talking about it, because it's also
Mhm.
somehow so fluffy. But for me, you have your own integrity as a person, as a leader or whatever.
Yeah.
And you also have a corporate integrity. And I'm always saying, so the sum of each personal integrity doesn't sum up in a corporate integrity, because it's going to be diluted depending on what kind of people are in the room, who has to make the decision with whom. And it's also interesting to see when you are sitting in a boardroom how integrity shifts, knowing everybody at that table has a high standard of personal integrity.
You hope.
Or I think I would assume right now. Yeah, that's just how I'd like to work, because I
Yeah,
still believe in the good of
in the
the good
good
things
people.
of people. But if you, depending on the agreement we have, the people sitting together, some people are not following their own personal integrity anymore. And it's interesting also when I see that as an external observer of boards, how that could also negatively impact the corporate culture.
Correct. But, I can tell you that companies could be doing more on showcasing their values, integrity. And so, couple months ago, I was preparing for a presentation, and it basically, that's what that presentation was about: how companies would, should, and could include language or visuals that show the values and integrity at the different stages. Because what happens mostly in the United States right now is there is an application for a job, and it doesn't say anything about values, ethics,
Hmm.
compliance, and integrity. Then that company has a communication with a prospective employee, and there is no information about any of those things in that communication. Then you go for an interview, and maybe they ask him or her a couple questions about their own personal integrity, but they don't set the bar talking about the company's integrity values. And
But
that happens all the time.
yet, but I think, I would not even blame these people, because maybe they just don't know it. We talked about in our pre-discussion we had right
Mhm.
now, a few minutes ago, we already
Yeah,
talked about it. If you have nice code of conduct, but nobody understands that, how should HR or the person who runs the interview talk about values if they don't have the role models within the firm?
right.
And I really, how should I say? I know we all need to have this kind of code of conduct, but if they are not filled with life, it doesn't help at all. You can put everything on a PM, on a piece of paper and you can write it down. You could also have your communication department doing it for you and also ask artificial intelligence to make it even better, but it doesn't help at all. You know what I mean? So I rather like to have 3 points in a code of conduct, but everybody from the board to the driver understands exactly what they want to, what the organization wants to say with that. Even the shareholders should understand it.
And yes, you need different kind of trainings at different levels, high level for the board, for them to understand, but they also need to be held accountable and kind of really understand the language, not just sign off that they received the code of conduct. Then anyone who manages people needs to get additional kind of, and I don't even want to call it a training. It's really transfer of knowledge, not training per se. Not I'm like, because you can do an e-learning training, and if you really want to make a meaningful difference, if you want to touch people, then you really need to be involved, invested, a touch on the feelings of the employees of the organizations to kind of transfer that and show them, like we talked about before, what it really means and how you can make the better and why. Why do we do all of this in ethics and compliance and integrity? Because like we said at the beginning, it's to make better workplaces, right? It's for people. It's to have a better product. It's to have a better customer service. It's to have more money. And it is kind of an upward spiral. So yes, but I will point out that in the US also, when employees come in, most companies will have this onboarding training, but it's about benefits. It's about how to log on to your email. It's about IT security, maybe building security. It's never about ethics, compliance, and integrity.
Is it
So,
true? Is it really true? Or what you have
yes.
seen in your, I think you have, I know that you have more than 20 years of experience, but
Yes.
is it really your reality, what you see? Because I think I think there's a lot of work for you to do if it is like that.
Yeah, so in my last working for an organization experience, I came across that not only that the onboarding training wasn't given within the short amount of time. I think it took maybe between 3 to 6 months until I got the onboarding training because of scheduling or whatever, because they wanted to make it really nice and they wanted to make it in person, which I commend, which was great. But it was given by HR people, and a lot of companies operate in silos and they don't necessarily invite others to participate. That's a problem. Number one, compliance doesn't always have a seat at the table where they should, right? So I recognize that it was missing, and it's something that was always very important to me, that the employees understood from the beginning what the steps they should take and where to find the information. So I, as a compliance professional working at that company on my own, created onboarding slides from the compliance perspective. I tried to keep it short, right? Like 5 slides or so, to kind of show what the requirements, information, a hotline, and who the people were. And I share that with someone on the HR side. But I had to continuously make sure that I do it. I had to create a dialogue. And I think what I'm finding a lot here in the US, it's still like that compliance and HR and IT kind of, operations operate in separate silos. But what compliance really has to do is try to make friends, extend the olive branches, reach out, talk about the different processes that they're working on, and see how compliance can make it better. Meaning, there was an onboarding process, but I just felt that it was missing with the information that it was important, and I made the effort to do that. So that's what has to happen, and it doesn't happen a lot.
I think you already answered one of my questions I had on my paper right now, but
Oh,
it's okay.
nice.
But no, that's great, because I really wanted to ask you, where do you see organizations unintentionally designing integrity out of their decisions, of their systems and decision making? And I think it's exactly that's what happens, or often happens also when you are in such kind of onboarding periods or programs. And if you could just install one governance habit in every leadership team, what would it be?
One habit
Yeah.
from
A
oh,
just
I
one governance habit, I think it's super precise, because just one habit which could
I have
already change. Okay, two is okay too.
two is okay. Well, I don't know if it's a habit or if it's a virtue of a person, but um, when you speak of people, and it's really self-awareness.
Hmm.
If people can be mindful and self-aware is one, and then lately this is a term that gets used a lot in the United States, and it's used with little kids in therapy, and
Hmm.
it goes all the way to the corporate world, having the kind of a growth mindset.
Yeah.
So if you have
Hmm.
those two, that could be very helpful and beneficial for companies, because I've sat through many compliance trainings, and a lot of the time the talk is, how do you have the leaders understand and approve compliance budgets, because it's a cost center. So if I flip that question and say, if they are self-aware and open mind, and have an open mind to kind of experience the other side of its business, and once they understand that it's good for business, maybe then asking for a budget shouldn't be as difficult, or allocating some budget, and changing things for compliance shouldn't be as difficult. So I
And
say that.
I think if you have these two components or habits or whatever with the growth mindset and also the self-reflection, I think it also directly goes into resilience, and it also strengthens the resilience of a team, but of course also for the person itself, but for the teams and especially also the entire organization.
Right. Yes. And I mean, when we say about like raising leaders, you want them to be transparent, right? Like it goes like the next levels, like
Hmm.
they need to show integrity, just be able to have even having tough conversations is important. You know, I just feel like a lot of leaders cower to have difficult conversations, and then they go, now the new word is ghosting, right? Like try to pretend it doesn't happen, but sometimes you can say things that aren't popular per se, but if you say it with integrity, if you say it calmly, if you say, well, maybe it's not now, maybe I'm asking for promotion, and there could be good constructive reasons why I should not be getting the promotion right now. If you completely avoid this situation, then the other person on the other side, their feelings get hurt, they get upset, and things get worse.
Yeah,
But if you can say, well, I understand you want your promotion, but I would like for you to get educated in ABC, or get more experience in ABC, and have a plan, it sounds and looks different. And I mean, you know, you were kidding.
absolutely. So that's also a question I have for you. So, what role should courage play when it comes to integrity and governance, not as a heroism, but as a disciplined dissent?
Yes. So what rules?
What role should courage play?
What
I think
role should courage play? What role? Yeah, I mean,
I think
y-
you already started with that because what you said right now, you have to speak it out in a way that people can understand that. And
yes.
what I see is that courage plays a tremendous role. And I would also like to hear from your side, how do you experience that also when it comes to boardrooms and management boards?
Courage, I mean, yes, 100% courage is an important skill or virtue to have in any of us, because it is not always easy to be the one standing up for what is right. It is not always easy. It is very uncomfortable. And I've been in situations like that where I felt like I was alone, whether it was in my business world, my job world, or I volunteered on a board of directors in my town for the education of our children. And sometimes I stood alone when I was fighting for something. So courage is definitely important and encouraged, but I don't know that everyone has it. So you have to, I think, when you're selecting people for the organization and when you're allowing employees to move up in the way, that's something that should definitely be considered and but we as compliance people should have these conversations and say, you know what, we need the people to be able to stand up for what is right, and that comes with the courage. So it should always be on the back of your mind. It's definitely necessary and needed. If you want to do the right thing, you have to be courageous.
Yeah.
I
Thank you
agree. I
very
agree.
much.
Yes.
Well, there are so many questions left, and as we said, we would like to keep it below 30 minutes, also for our audience, because they exactly they are used to our 30 minutes or not more, because most of them are listening to it when they are commuting. But my suggestion would be that we just go on with another episode, if you would like to,
Oh,
because
I'd
I
love that.
also like to take up the topic we discussed in our pre-discussion about, is training really giving the impact we would expect, or are there some missing points there?
I would love, love, love that topic very much. There's so much to say about training. We should probably take a tour of the history of training, where it
Mm-hmm.
started, at least as far as I know, in my 20 years in corporate America. I would be really curious to hear from you. What does training in Europe look like? And
Mm-hmm.
we should compare the notes, and we can talk about best practices. I can tell you quickly that a couple of months ago I had the privilege of doing a presentation with someone whose topic was, why is training not working? And I was there to, in the way, rebut him, saying, no, but if you do it my way, it is going to work. So I think there is a lot to talk about training and what it means and how it should be done in companies. But I think that would be a great exchange, because
Okay.
I'm really happy to learn about what you guys do.
So, no, it would be a pleasure to do so. So thank you very much for all your time, all your insights. And I'm sure there are so many other topics we could also talk about. The next one is going to be about training and the differences, and maybe also how to make it really stick. So
Yes.
thank you very much, Evie.
Thank you so much for having me. This was my pleasure. Thank you.
This was another episode of The Human Factor Corporate Integrity Matters, where we uncover the leadership strategies fostering governance, risk awareness, resilience, and strategic foresight. Today, with one of my highly appreciated guests, Evie. Guided by the principle, corporate integrity and resilience are foundations of trust and long-term success in unpredictable times. Thank you for listening, and now take care and nurture your own resilience too.